Special thanks to Patreon supporter Derek Frost Westbrook for making this video possible. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Scared204 here, bringing you another Minecraft Cold War aircraft tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll be going ahead and building the SNCASO SO.8000 Narval. The SO.8000 Narval, which translates from French to English Narval, was a French carrier-based strike fighter designed by Sud Aust in late 1940s. The French Navy ordered two prototypes in 1946, and they made their maiden flights 3 years later. They were plagued by aerodynamic problems and unreliability issues with their piston engines. The aircraft proved to be slow, lacking in lateral and longitudinal stability, and unsuitable for carrier operations. It did not enter production. So this here is a pretty interesting aircraft. It's one of those aircraft that was built as a prototype and never went anywhere else. It was kind of a scrap project and really did not see any full-scale production. And yeah, that's really the end of this, project, which is kind of sad. Kind of sad to see these aircraft just die off like that, and only 2 of these ever being built. But it makes sense. I mean, at this point, we had jet fighters that were starting to become more and more widely available, and kind of reduce the need for a piston-driven type of aircraft. But overall, an interesting one, a very unique aircraft in terms of its kind of a push aircraft with its pistons, and it's also has twin booms, so it's pretty interesting in terms of its design and functionality. But yeah, kind of a nice aircraft to have. We haven't done a French Cold War / Modern Warfare aircraft in a very long time, so it's very nice to kind of come back and revisit their country and build kind of a unique, kind of forgotten aircraft from that time. Before we go ahead and jump into taking a look at the build, though, I do want to go ahead and give special thanks to Patreon supporter Derek Frost Westbrook for making this tutorial possible. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel more than you already do, feel free to check out my Patreon page. Links can always be found in my video descriptions, and it really helps support the work I do on my channel, and you also get earn the cool benefit of gaining a viewer request you're choosing per month you're a patron, depending on what tier you're on. So definitely feel free to check it out. Again, link is always in my video description. With that, though, let's go and dive in here, taking a look at the SO.8000 Narval. So going ahead and jumping into it, we have the front of the aircraft, pretty standard, straightforward, just a simple front. It did have its guns kind of mounted in the sides here. Obviously, we can't really replicate that in Minecraft too well, but it did have some forward-facing guns here. Again, this was kind of designed to be a strike fighter, so more of a fighter than actually, going and dropping bombs and stuff like that. So that we have the cockpit. We have the wings, which are kind of a unique design. So they kind of have a steeper, they have a pretty sharp angle there, and then they kind of flow out to a lighter angle. They're pretty angled, so kind of a cool looking front silhouette for it. We then have the kind of giant intake here for the engine. At least that's what I'm kind of assuming this is, with the way it's located and just the size of it on the side here. And we then have the push back here, which is kind of a turboprop type design, and pretty cool design overall. Then we come back to the tail here. We have the kind of French Air Force markings there on what would be the rudders. So that's on both sides there. So that's pretty common on them. And then we also have the little French Air Force roundels on the side of the booms and also on the wings. So kind of a nice design for those and kind of like a smaller scale with just the item frames and stuff. So overall, really nice looking aircraft. It's definitely unique for what it is. We have both a landed and in-flight version. So we can see the landed version in front of us. And then you can see just the standard in-flight version above here. So you will have both of those available to you throughout this for the tutorial. So you can pick and choose, if you want to have it landed, in-flight, kind of a cool, interesting aircraft and something very unique that probably most of you haven't even heard of or knew existed. I actually think it is in War Thunder, so maybe if you played War Thunder, but other than that, you probably don't know much about this aircraft, and I really wouldn't expect you to. Anyways, though, without further ado, let's go and move into the tutorial by beginning for our first layer. Alright guys, so before we go and jump right into this tutorial, there are a few things I want to go ahead and mention. First thing is, if you're completely new to my aircraft tutorials, the way I like to structure these tutorials, I like to do half on camera, half off. What this means is we'll be building the entire center line of the aircraft, and then we'll be building the right side, and then it'll be up to you guys to take the right side and copy it over to the left side. For the most part, this aircraft is completely symmetrical. There are a few parts where we are going to have some asymmetry when it comes to this build, and I will be sure to kind of talk about those a little bit more in detail once we get to those. However, unless stated otherwise, whatever we do on one side will be done on the other, so just plan on just plan on doing that, I guess. Anyways, though, without further ado, let's go ahead and kind of move in here. Now, if you do want to build the aircraft landed, that's perfectly, you're perfectly able to. We will be building the aircraft as if it's in flight and then adding the landing gear on as a modification to it at the end. To make sure you have this aircraft built correctly, we have layers 1 and 2 we're going to be doing in this first layer. You want to make sure that layer 2 here sits a total of basically the third layer up from the ground. So you can see we have 1, 2, and it's this third row up from the ground level. We have layer 2 starting. Very important to make sure that's correct, because if not, your aircraft is not going to sit properly. And when you go back to put the landing gear on, it will look weird. So just keep that in mind as we progress through the build. You want it this high up from it if you're doing the landed version. Obviously, if you're building the in-flight version, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you have enough clearance for it. To get started with, though, we want to go ahead and begin with by placing down a row of polished andesite. It's going to be a row of 5. It's going to be the center here. We're going to go ahead and go toward the front. We're going to place down 2 pistons. Now, the pistons here are going to be placed if you're a Java player. We do have a special tool we can use that can modify the pistons to look like that. But normally, they will look just like this. Now, if you are not on Java and you are not able to use commands, instead of using the pistons here, we can place down there a polished andesite block and then a polished andesite top slab instead. That's a decent alternative to this, but again, these pistons here are going to be your best bet. After these 2 blocks here, though, we're going to place down 2 polished andesite top slabs and then an iron trapdoor that's going to be going toward the front of our aircraft, so our aircraft's going to face that way. Then going ahead and going to the other end of this row of 5 polished andesite, we're going to do the same thing here. Basically, we have 2 of these pistons, or instead of the pistons, again, we can use the alternative, a polished andesite block and then a top slab after that. We're going to go then place down 1, 2, and 3 polished andesite top slabs back, and on the end of that last polished andesite top slab, we're going to place down a polished black stone wall, and then a second wall down from it. We also want to go to the side of this polished andesite top slab. We're going to place down a wall like this, and then another wall out to the side going down at an angle. After that's all complete, we then want to go ahead and go back up to the front here. We're going to go ahead and place down a row of 1 and 2 of polished andesite top slabs on the side of the pistons, or these 2 blocks here. We're going to go then place down 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stairs along those 5 polished andesite full blocks. And then taking our polished andesite top slabs, we're going to go back 1, 2, 3, and then an iron trapdoor. After that's done, we're going to go ahead and then go to the side here. We're going to count to our 1, 2, and our middle polished andesite upside down stair. So the stair here, we're going to place down a polished andesite top slab to the side, then 1, 2, 3, 4 back, and then 1 and 2 iron trapdoors after that. Next row here is going to be a polished andesite top slab coming off this one here. And then 1, 2, 3 back, so you have a total of 4, and then 2 iron trapdoors. We're going to go ahead and place down a polished andesite top slab here, 1 more slab back, and then 1, 2, 3 iron trapdoors after that. Lastly, we're going to place down another iron trapdoor to the side of this top slab here, and then 1 and 2 back, so you have a total of 3. We then want to go ahead and go off this iron trapdoor at an angle, and we're going to place down an iron trapdoor like so. For the right side here, we're going to place down a polished andesite top slab, and then we're going to place down a polished andesite upside down stair, like so. And then we're going to follow this up with 2 polished andesite top slabs. Now, when you go ahead and do the left side here will just be a row of 4 polished andesite top slabs. You will not have the stair included. That is going to be one of our differences there, so just make sure that gets transferred over properly, and you only do it on the right side. Obviously, it's not a big deal if you do it on both sides, but again, we're trying to keep the build as realistic as possible to the actual model, so that is something we need to keep in mind here. But anyways, going down from the stair here, we're also going to place down a birchwood fence post, and that is going to be it for that right there. Then going ahead, continuing on, same thing on both sides. We're going to place down 3 iron trapdoors back from that last polished andesite top slab there. We're going to place down another upside down piston, like so. Instead of the piston, you can use a polished andesite full block instead as a replacement, and then a polished andesite top slab coming off that piston going back. And with that all done, that right there is going to pretty much wrap up what we have here for layer number 1 and 2. Looking at it from up above, this is what we should have for the top-down view. Kind of an interesting shape, but pretty simplistic and pretty straightforward. And with that, we'll be going ahead and moving into our next layer, which will be layer number 3. Moving on to our next layer, we have layer number 3. For layer 3 to get started with here, we're going to place down a polished andesite full block on top of this iron trapdoor, followed by an andesite wall coming out the wall toward the front. We're going to go back from this polished andesite block, 1 more additional block, and then a row of 1, 2, 3, and 4 of black concrete. Now we're using the black concrete here to close off the interior for the cockpit. If you do want to do an interior, you're more than welcome to. There really isn't much room to do anything, so we're going to go ahead and skip that for the tutorial. But again, if you want to do an interior, you can leave the space of 4 open and kind of see if you can fit something in here. However, again, for this tutorial, we'll be filling this in with just a row of 4 black concrete. After that, though, we're going to go take our polished andesite. We're going to go ahead and build a row of polished andesite. It's going to go all the way back, a row of 10, and then we're going to have a skeleton skull on the very end, like so. With that all done, that's going to be our center line, and we're going to start working about the sides now. We're going to place down 2 light gray stainless panes coming off these 2 blocks here, an andesite wall, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 polished andesite blocks, 2 anvils, and then a light gray stainless pane after those anvils. We also want to go ahead and place down 2 dark oak fence gates, like so, coming off the side here of this polished andesite block. With that all done there, we're going to go ahead and start working our way into our wings. We're going to place down a iron trapdoor on top of this polished andesite top slab, as well as a daylight detector, and then a row of 3 of polished andesite slabs back from that daylight detector. We also want to go ahead and turn the daylight detector to the night mode, so it should be that bluish gray color. And then we're going to go ahead and place down another daylight detector on the end here. Again, turn to that night mode, and then a iron trapdoor after that. We're going to place down an iron trapdoor here, daylight detector, turn to night mode, 2 polished andesite slabs, another daylight detector, and then an iron trapdoor. Next row is going to be another iron trapdoor here, another daylight detector, turn to night mode, polished andesite slab, daylight detector again in the night mode, and then an iron trapdoor. Our next section here is going to be a iron trapdoor. Then we're going to place down 2 polished andesite slabs and then a daylight detector on the very end, again in that night configuration. We then want to place down 2 polished andesite slabs here, followed by a piston. And we're going to go ahead and leave that piston alone right there for right now. Again, you can make that piston a polished andesite full block instead of a piston if you are on a different version that does not have the debug stick. Going back from this, we're going to place down 1, 2, 3, 4 polished andesite full blocks. Then again, we'll use our pistons. Again, as an alternative to the pistons, you can just go ahead and place down your polished andesite blocks all the way across for a total of 7. Pistons here are going to be your best bet for our shaping. And then we're just going to place down 2 polished andesite full blocks on the very end here, and then a skeleton skull, like so. Now, after that's all done, we're going to go ahead and continue on with our wings, and it's going to be a polished andesite slab coming off this one here. And we're going to go then place down 1, 2, and 3 back, so you have a total of 4 there. After that, we're going to go up at an angle, place down a polished andesite top slab here, and then a total of 2 more backs, so you have a row of 3. We're going to go then place down a second row of 3, then a row of 2, and we're going to go then place down an iron trapdoor, come off this last polished andesite top slab, like that. And once we have that all complete there, for us Java players, we can go ahead and do a little bit of trickery here. What we're going to do is we're going to go and type in the command /give @p Minecraft :debug_stick. This right here will be your command, but press enter, you get this glowing stick. What we can do here is we can go up to the pistons, we can left click the piston, and until we get the prompt selected extended false. By right clicking now, it will actually get rid of that wood portion, and it really help with our shaping here. We'll do the same thing for the pistons from the previous layers, also on the bottoms here of the fuselage, and as you can see, it creates that really nice shaped design there. It just really helps with the overall shaping of the fuselage. Again, not a total deal breaker if you cannot do that feature, but just a nice one in general to kind of help get the design as close as we can to the real life counterpart. With that all complete, that right there is pretty much it for both sides. One thing also for Java players, we can actually go ahead and change the properties of this glass pane to actually connect up to the anvils. The way we do this is we look in the direction that the glass pane would connect to the anvil. So this way here, we can press F3 and we can look at our second paragraph, 4th line there, and it says we're facing south. So what we can do now is we can go ahead and left click this until we get selected south false. By now right clicking for debug stick, it will be south to true, and it will connect up to that anvil there, and it really helps kind of create a better flow for the back here. Again, that's a nice tool, or a nice thing you can do with the debug stick here, and you can do it for all directions, so just keep that in mind. Your aircraft may be oriented different than mine. It may not be to the south you need to go. You may need to go west, east, north, who knows. It, again, all depends on the orientation, the way your aircraft is facing in the world. So just keep that in mind, but that right there is pretty much it. So at this point in time, I would transfer both sides over. Do exactly what you need to for both sides, and I'll give you guys a moment here to pause, and we're going to go and talk about one simple different feature that's going to be on the left side, and the left side only. So go ahead and build both sides now, and pause the video, and alright, hopefully you got both sides built now, and let's go ahead and talk about the one difference here. Super simple. It's going to be on the left side here. We have the polished andesite, this row 3 of polished andesite blocks. We're going to place down this lever here on the 3rd block, like so. Pretty simple. It will get a little bit more crazy once we get into the next layers. We have a little bit more going on with that, but that's it, and that right there is going to conclude that. One thing also I did forget to mention was going to be this item frame here on the side. Now, this item frame here, it's pretty simple, obviously. It's just an item frame, but we're going to go ahead and go to this 4th polished andesite block. So we have basically this section right here. is going to be on the outsides of both booms. So it's going to be in the same position on both booms. We're going to place down a item frame, and then we're going to place down a white stained glass pane. If you're on Java, you can also place down a warped button in it as well to go ahead and make the roundel on the side of the aircraft. Unfortunately for Java, or for players not on Java, you will not be able to place down an item frame and button in the same block space, so you have to just place down the item frame. Unfortunately, it's not perfect, but it's really, the closest we can get to, the roundel actually being on there. Anyways, so that's it for that, and that right there is going to conclude what we have there for layer number 3 for the build, and with that, let's go ahead and move on up to layer number 4. Alright guys, moving into our next layer here, we have layer number 4. For layer 4 to go ahead and get started with here, we're going to place down a polished andesite slab on top of this full block up here in the front. We're going to go and then place down a piston directly after it. Instead of a piston, you can use a polished andesite stair, or probably a full block would be best here. Unfortunately, again, not really good options as an alternative, but probably a full block might be what you have to go with here. After that, though, we're going to go ahead and then place down a row of 1, 2, 3, and 4 black stained glass full blocks. After that, we're going to go and then place down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 polished andesite full blocks. Again, we're going to place down 2 pistons here. And if you do not have access to pistons, you can go ahead and place down a polished andesite block and then a polished andesite slab, and that will work also. After that, though, we're going to place down a polished andesite slab and then another daylight detector here, turned to night mode, followed by a polished blackstone wall on top of this polished andesite block. We're going to go ahead and just place down one more wall on top of it, just so we don't have to worry about the propellers later. And also, we're going to place down a polished blackstone wall on top of these glass panes, and we're also going to go ahead and go up at an angle to the sides here, and that will finish those props on the back there. So we don't have to worry about them later, and just a nice way to knock those out. After that is complete, though, going back up to the front here, we're going to place down a skeleton skull at a slight angle on this andesite wall. We're going to then go back from that with 1, 2, 3 polished andesite slabs, 1, 2, 3 andesite walls, 1, 2, 3 polished andesite slabs, and then 1 and 2 iron trapdoors after that. After that is done, we can go ahead and then take our debug stick here, and for Java players, we'll go ahead and right click those pistons to go ahead and set them back, and same thing will be done up here on the front, like so, and that's pretty much about it. Pretty simple, straightforward stuff for the fuselage. And then we're going to go ahead and move into our booms. So our booms here, we're just going to place down 2 polished andesite blocks on top of these 2 on the tail here. Pretty simple. And then we'll be going ahead and moving into our wings. Our wings here, we're going to go ahead and very simply go up at an angle from this polished andesite slab with a daylight detector. We're going to turn that to night mode. And then a second slab back, and then a iron trapdoor, or sorry, a second daylight detector back, and then an iron trapdoor. Again, those both will be night mode. And then an iron trapdoor here, and then another daylight detector right here. Again, turn to night mode. And that will basically complete what we have there for the wing. And we're going to go then place down an item frame on top of this polished andesite top slab here. Same thing we did before for the roundel, white stained glass pane in it. And again, if you're on Java, we'll place a warp button on the top there as well to go ahead and make that roundel there for the aircraft. One thing I also want to go ahead and do also is take some light gray carpet, and we're going to place it down on top of this iron trapdoor right here, right behind the roundel, just to keep a more consistent color there for the wing a little bit better. Anyways, after that's all done, I would go ahead and take what we did on the right side here, copy it over to the left side, because basically from here on out, we're going to kind of be covering some asymmetry parts and also some banners we need to make. So again, take the time now, pause the video, and go ahead and transfer what you need to on the right side over to the left side, everything we've done for this layer so far. And go ahead and pause. Alright, hopefully you paused and you got both sides built up, and let's go ahead and jump into what we have different. Now it's going to be mostly, everything on here is going to be on the left side for our differences, and our first thing we're going to start with is this thing up here. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of build up from the lever here. So we built this lever in the previous layer, it's on the left side here. We're going to go ahead and place that block on top of it, and then a birchwood fence gate come off the side there of that block. We're going to open the fence gate toward the middle of the aircraft, so toward the block, and then we're going to place down a chain coming off it going forward. We can then delete that block, and that's pretty much it. You have this little instrument here that sticks off the side of the cockpit. With that out of the way, though, we're going to go ahead and then go to this section here. We're going to go ahead and go to this middle polished andesite slab. So this row 3 here, we're going to place down a skeleton skull coming off of it. We then want to go ahead and place down a dragon head on top of this daylight detector, and then we're going to place down a grindstone that'll be coming off the dragon head. So by crouching and placing it, we can go ahead and create a design that looks like this. Now, unfortunately, not everybody will be able to place down a grindstone like this, especially for non-Java players. So instead, you can use a fence gate as an alternative. It's not as good as the grindstone, but it is an alternative to do instead of that grindstone. But yeah, that right there is going to be that little intake there on the side of the aircraft on the left side. And again, left side only. With that out of the way, over here on this side, we have the very tip of the wing. We're going to go ahead and go off of this glass pane, or this daylight detector. We're going to place down 2 end rods forward and then a chain. And that right there is pretty much it for our asymmetry parts. So again, you'll notice everything's over here on the left side. We have that little instrument on the front there, this little intake here, and then this, again, instrument here on the very outer wingtip of the left wing. And this is what it should look like from the top-down view. At this point in time, we also want to go ahead and make these banners. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the necessary materials to make the banners, and I'll show you guys how to make the banners there for the tail. Alright guys, when it comes to making these banners for the tail, it's really simple to make. We're just going to need 2 white banners, 2 red dye, 2 blue dye. We're going to go into our loom, we're going to take our first banner, place it into our loom, or both our banners, and we're going to go ahead and place our red dye. We're going to select the line that's vertically on the left side here for our first banner, and then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing over here, this time on the right side for our second banner. After we have that done, both these banners will be placed back into the loom, along with our blue dye, and we're just going to go and do the opposite of the red line. So we're going to go and do, since the red line's on the left side, we're going to go and do the blue line over here on the right side. And then vice versa for this banner, be the blue line vertically over here on the left side, since the red line's on the right side. And you get these 2 banners here. Now to place these banners, it's pretty simple. You're going to go to the side of this polished andesite block, and you want to place the banner like this on both the inside and outside, but you want the red facing toward the rear. So it will kind of depend on what side of the thing is. You might have to mess with it a little bit, but you want the red portion again facing toward the rear. And we're also going to place down a red banner on the side here, this polished andesite block as well, to kind of keep that red color a little bit more consistent. But yeah, you just want a banner that looks like that. You're going to go ahead and do that for both sides there of the tail, or that rudder there on the aircraft. Anyways though, with that all complete, that's pretty much all we have there for that. Make sure you keep these banners kind of handy because we'll be using them a little bit later. But that right there is it for layer 4, and let's move on up to layer number 5. So instead of just doing layer 5, we're going to go ahead and just knock out our final layers here, which are going to be layers 5 and 6. These layers are really, or layer 6 is really simple and just kind of an add-on to layer 5. So we'll just do these all together, as there's really no point in separating the two. But anyways, let's get started here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to place down an air brick slab on top of this black stained glass full block here. We're going to go then place down 2 black stained glass full blocks back from that air brick slab. On both sides of these full blocks of black stained glass, we're going to place down 2 black stained glass panes, like so. We're going to go then place down a piston right here. This could be substituted out for a polished andesite full block instead, or a polished andesite stair, whichever you prefer. And then after that piston, we're going to place down a polished andesite slab. We're going to go ahead and skip a space, and then on this middle polished andesite block here, we're going to place down an end rod on top of that. To the sides here, we're going to go ahead and go to the side of the piston. We're going to place down a skeleton skull like so. And you'll use your debug stick once you have both sides complete to go ahead and set the piston to that state right there. And that's going to do it for your front cockpit. We're going to go then move to the rear of the aircraft here, and what we're going to do is we're going to place down a polished andesite, or row 2 of polished andesite on top of this row here. We want to go ahead and then grab our banners, and we're going to go ahead and do the same thing that we did previously. So we're going to place down our banners here on the sides of these polished andesite blocks, like so. After we have that done, we're going to go ahead and then place down a row of iron trapdoors. That's going to go across between the polished andesite blocks. So it's going to be a row across here. This row will start from the banners, so it's going to come off the banners there. So you're going to have this little gap right here, and it's going to go all the way across and connect. So this right here should be a row of 9, and this front row will be a row of 11 of iron trapdoors across to connect up our 2 vertical stabilizers. After we have that done, we're going to go then take our iron trapdoors. We're going to place down 2 on top of these polished andesite blocks. And at this point in time, we're going to go then just run light gray carpet all the way across the iron trapdoors for our front row here. And then we're going to place down light gray carpet on top of the banners and also the iron trapdoors to create a row of 11 as well of light gray carpet all the way across the top. Last thing we'll do is we'll just place down a light gray carpet on top of this one banner here to the end. And that's it. That's all you have to do there for your horizontal stabilizer, and that will complete what we have there for the in-flight version of the build. Overall, pretty straightforward aircraft. It's not really too complicated, but yeah, that right there is it for the in-flight version. And for those of you that do want to build it landed, we'll be now moving on to the landing gear, and I'll be showing you guys how to add that onto the aircraft. But anyways, that's it for the in-flight version. Let's move on to the landing gear. Alright guys, so when it comes to the landing gear, it's pretty simple and straightforward to do. We're going to go and start with the front gear, and this is going to be starting off on the front here. We're going to replace this iron trapdoor with a, or we're actually just going to go and delete the iron trapdoor altogether, and then we're going to go and delete this polished andesite slab. From this slab, we're going to place down a warped fence post that goes down like so, followed by a warped upside down stair, and then a block of coal on the bottom here. We have this green banner design that we're going to use, which is a green banner with a black border and a black horizontal line for the center. We're going to use this for the rims here, the wheel. The landing gear appeared to be in pictures, and at least in War Thunder, also kind of a green color, so that's why we're using the blocks we're using here. After that though, we want to go ahead and then place down a light gray banner on the side of this fence post for the landing gear door. And that's all you have to do there for the front. Let's move on to the back here. And going ahead and move into our last landing gear piece we have to do. It's going to be the rear here landing gear. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to this section here, so we have this kind of diagonal. We're going to go ahead and go to this last iron trapdoor section, so this last section here. We're going to go ahead and go right behind it. We're going to break this second iron trapdoor on the bottom here. In its place, we're going to go ahead and place down a polished andesite stair. That's going to be positioned like so. We then want to go ahead and go behind the polished andesite stair. We're going to break this iron trapdoor, and in its place, we're going to place down a mossy cobblestone wall. This wall is going to go down and connect up to a polished andesite stair like so, and then another stair like that going forward from it. After we have that done, we're going to go ahead and angle from the stairs toward the inside here. We're going to place down 2 polished black stone walls like that. We're going to go and then place down 2 wither skeleton skulls on top of the walls, and then we want to place down a zombie head coming off this wall right here for the back. After that's all done, we're going to go and then delete this polished andesite top slab and this one as well. We're going to place down a warped trapdoor right here, and then a warped fence gate in this section, which will open the fence gate toward the inside there of the aircraft, or to the center there. And once you have that done, that's it for the landing gear for the sides. Again, really simple landing gear, and you'll take the same thing and copy it over to the air side. Once you have both that sides done with the landing gear on the rear, that is going to complete the landed version of the SO.8000 Narval. And with that will complete my tutorial for this aircraft. If you guys do end up using this design, I do ask that you guys give me proper credit for it. This is being linked from a side of the build tweet to my channel or this video if this does appear on your social media sites. As long as you guys give me proper credit for it, you're free as for a project you guys are working on. Overall, enjoy the build, have fun with it, all that fun stuff. If you haven't already, feel free to check out my Patreon page. Link is always in my video description, where you can go ahead and pledge a small amount to the channel every month, and in doing so, earn a viewer core request to your choosing, like this one here. So definitely feel free to check that out. Again, link is always in my video descriptions. With that though, thank you guys again so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Garrett 2x4, and I'll see you guys next time.